I'm here to talk to you today about how to get into UK university. It's maybe more of a complicated topic than you might first realise. But first of all, I will tell you a little bit about why you should be listening to me, the school I come from, and where the advice I'm giving you today is based on. So first of all, what is St Clare's? We are a pre-university college for international students. So we are preparing up to 150 students per year from all over the world. Through our high school program, we teach the International Baccalaureate, and our university preparation course, the foundation course. It is our mission, we are a charity, it is our mission to advance international education and understanding. So the whole point of St Clare's is to bring students from all over the world, as many countries as we can, and prepare them with the highest possible education for the next step of their education. And we've been doing this with, I like to say, quite good success for now over 60 years. So the whole point is the next step. So I will tell you a little bit about where our students go having completed their course. And the majority are going to British universities, nearly 2/3. They can also go to European universities, American universities, and a small number also go to Russia, Far East, and sometimes take a gap year as well. So it's all about creating as many different opportunities as possible. But we're here to talk about UK. So this year's students, these are some of their UK destinations. And you can see here on your left-hand side, these are the UK top 10 universities which our students went to in 2014. University College London, of course, was the most popular. One statistic about UCL, in 2014, they only accepted 12% of all applications. We had 10 students apply, and 8 of them found places. So the first thing about applying to UK university, it is not just about your exam grades. Of course, it is important, but they are a filter. So this means that it is the minimum requirement. If you don't make the grades that they're looking for, your application will automatically not be looked at again. But that is just to narrow down the selection. On top of that, they're looking for what you're doing outside of your lessons, on top of your subject studies. So these are called super-curricular interests and activities. They can be focused on the academic side. You can go and see lectures, you can go to conferences around the subject you're interested in, or it could be as simple as just doing some reading. Getting involved in the community. It might not seem obvious that this is an academic thing, but volunteering for charities or doing some conservation work, getting involved in leadership projects, like in the UK we have the Duke of Edinburgh Award, or just being involved in culture and sport as well. So whether it's acting in theatre, being involved in music, doing team or individual sports. What this is doing is making you competitive. You need to stand out to the admissions tutors to prove that you are going to be an interesting student. And also to show that you are dedicated to the subject you've chosen. So, sorry, I'll move on then. So it's making the right choice is the first important step. So you need to do lots of research to find the university that suits you. It's not just enough to say, here are the league tables, this university is number 4, therefore it must be the 4th best in all subjects. It's not the case. Every course, even though it might have the same name of the subject, it will have different characteristics depending on the university, or even they might have similar names, of course, within one university that have substantially different characteristics. You should be looking very carefully at the syllabus. Are all of the modules that are offered, Are they within the area you are interested in? Are there additional choices you can make to make your course more tailored to your interests? Look at the structure. Does it require, or does it offer the opportunity to study in another country for 1 year perhaps? And what amount of teaching is there? What kind of teaching? Is it all lectures and a few tutorials? Do you have one-on-one sessions with tutors, like in Oxford, for instance? It's very important to find the type of course that is going to suit the way you learn. And of course, the other entry requirements. So, what is the IELTS score they're going to require? Will you have to go to an interview? Is there an extra admissions test? Many law schools in the UK require you to sit an extra exam. And all of these things require different consideration and different preparation. And the universities themselves, they vary hugely. Some of them, the environment is different. So you can have a university which is based in a city, like Manchester University, or maybe it's split into colleges, like Oxford or Cambridge or Durham. Or maybe it is a self-contained campus, like Exeter University, for instance. So they all have a very different dynamic. The way that you maybe have to travel between your faculties and your accommodation, it can make the experience completely different. And speaking of location, what's the city like? Can you get around the city easily using public transport? If you are keen to cycle, maybe you don't want to go to Exeter or Durham, which are very hilly. But they have fantastic bus links, for instance. What's the nightlife like? Is it safe to go out in the evening? Predominantly yes in UK. Oxford especially is one of the safest cities in Europe. Is it cultural? Will you have the opportunity to go to concerts and shows and exhibitions? And maybe you are a very keen footballer and you want to have the opportunity to go and see the big matches. So that might also be a consideration for you. Different universities have different finance options. So do they offer scholarships for your nationality? Maybe bursaries if you are particularly strong in one area or other. Sometimes there are sports awards as well. And what are the facilities like? Obviously, this is a consideration especially for maybe science subjects. Do they have state-of-the-art laboratories? Where are the faculties located? Are they new? So, huge amount of information to take in. And I'll give the example that Bath University is ranked 8th in the UK overall, but it is the top university in the UK for architecture. So it's no use going to maybe Imperial if you want to go to the best architecture university. Bath is right up there at the top. So how do you make the choice after you've been overwhelmed with all this information? It's important to get the right support. Important to understand yourself. What are your passions? Quite often we find that maybe from a young age you've had the expectation that you will go into one area of industry, or maybe you come from a family of lawyers and so you will go into the family business, but you might discover on more investigation that it's possibly not your passion, and maybe you should consider other options. What are the questions you should be asking? I've just talked about how to do your research, but there's a huge amount of information out there, and being able to narrow down to the things that really matter is very important. And all of this will help you to make an informed decision at the end. So how do you stay up to date with all this information? You can go and visit university. It's very important to perhaps meet the people who are going to be teaching you. They might even drop a nugget of information, like something that is very valuable in your application to show that you've done. Attending talks by visiting speakers. Every week at St Clare's we have 1 or 2 academics or senior businessmen come to the school to explain to our students how to achieve their goals. You can subscribe to some really good careers newsletters or blogs or Twitter feeds. Again, St Clare's has one of these which are updated on a daily or weekly basis. And meeting university representatives. It's their job to know about the course in depth, and so there's no substitute for actually speaking to someone in person about it so they can respond to your concerns. I'm sure if you're considering applying to university in the UK, you might have heard of the UCAS system. It's quite complicated. So it's very important to get thinking about it early, as soon as possible. So once you've done your research, you then have to maybe start thinking about your personal statement. I've underlined personal statement and reference because these are the two most important parts, which I'll be talking about in more detail in a moment. And then preparing for admissions tests. So we actually provide support for every single one, the only exception being the Bocconi test for law degree in Italy, because it's a psychometric test. You can't prepare for it. And interviews. Practice, so that you are not caught out. Find someone ideally who has some experience. Maybe they've been to that university or done a similar course, so they can help you know what to expect. So, the personal statement. This is your one chance to speak directly to the admissions tutor, to convince them, and you have a very limited space. You have 4,000 characters, including spaces, and a maximum of 47 lines. So it's a very specific type of language you have to use, and you have to do it very concisely, in as fewer words as possible. To prove to your future university that you're going to be interesting in lessons. So this is all going back to what I was saying about supercurricular activities. Showing everything you've done to prove that you're motivated and committed. You have a real understanding of the course, and that ultimately this is the course that you should be studying. The single most important thing about the personal statement is you have to demonstrate what you're saying. You can't just say it. I'm sure everyone could happily say that they are passionate and enthusiastic and dedicated, but to actually show evidence of that is more tricky. So, fine, you're passionate about engineering, but have you been to a lecture at the Royal Society from an eminent engineer? What have you done to show that you are actually interested and passionate about it? It's not enough just to say it. And as I said, it's a very specialized and difficult style of writing. It takes drafts and redrafts and going over it again and again to make sure that it is accurately portraying your study persona, if you like. UCAS has a system for automatically checking your personal statement. We actually are developing a similar system. Very few other schools use this system. Our advisor is helping to develop it, along with the original designer of the UCAS system. So, and it really ensures the quality of the personal statements from our students. What it's looking for is plagiarism. That's copying other people's ideas, or there have been issues with people having sort of ordering a personal statement from a tutor online or something like that, and they reuse phrases. So this is picking up on copying other people's work. Cliches. You don't want to put anything corny in there. It's a waste of time. It needs to be more personal to you. And if you're using the same word over and over and over again, a waste of space, and the tutor will get bored. So the UCAS system will flag these up. The reference. This is a professional assessment by the teacher of a student's study persona. So it's from one education professional to another. It's just as important as the personal statement, because everything in your personal statement will be checked against the reference. And someone else writes it. You're putting your trust in someone else to represent you to your future universities. So of course the best references are written by tutors who actually know their students well. At St Clare's, the personal tutor and the subject teachers work with the students to make the perfect reference. The students get the opportunity to look at the reference before it is ever sent to UCAS, so they can approve it. It's not that they can say, you must say this, because that's not the way it works. But they can maybe point out that an important fact has been missed or overlooked or not highlighted enough. So it's really important, I think, that the students get a chance to just say okay for their reference. And so, in conclusion, as I said at the beginning, applying to university in the UK is a little bit more complicated, I think. It requires more than just good grades. And experience of studying in the UK before applying to university is a very big advantage. Of course, in answer to the question how to get into UK university, I would of course say the best way is to come to St Clare's. It's my job to say it. But as I said at the beginning, this program of support and advice that we give to our students really yields very good outcomes. So if you would like to discuss any of this with me, I'm on table 24 upstairs, and I'd be very happy to go through any of this with you in some more detail. And I've just covered that. So I hope this has been interesting and maybe a little bit helpful. And thank you very much.